My name is Jim Christensen, and I am the Chief Innovations Officer at the Aldrin Family Foundation. Now, Aldrin Family Foundation is a foundation originally set up by Buzz Aldrin with the idea of inspiring the next generation of space explorers. And what we primarily do is we have a giant moon map and a giant Mars map that goes out with robots and globes and educational activities and curriculum and with training. And we support schools with this. And we support schools a lot of places across the United States and in multiple foreign countries. And so I do a lot of time, I spend a lot of time traveling with that. I am a former middle school science teacher. I taught middle school students for 18 years. And at the end of that 18 years, I probably would have stayed. I like teaching middle school. I was awarded the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching, and I ended up leaving teaching and went to the state level and worked with distance learning and with technology integration and science in Northwest Iowa. During that time, NASA offered to buy out my contract from the state of Iowa, and they gave me a position in the Teaching from Space program at Johnson Space Center. And there I used my particular knowledge in distance learning to help work with setting up the procedures and a demonstration project of teaching from International Space Station. We created the procedures that allow kids to do interviews with astronauts on space station from their classrooms. I left that and went back to the state, finished out a career, retired, moved to Florida, and took the job as Director of Education at Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. And there, what I did was I led a team that designed a new education center called the Astronaut Training Experience, which if you ever come to Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, it's pretty cool. I think you'd really enjoy it. When I left that, I came on with the Aldrin Family Foundation, and I've been creating materials and doing trainings and representing the Aldrin Family Foundation a lot of places now for, well, I want to say yesterday was my 4-year anniversary. I was contacted by a person from your school district and said, could you help us create a project for our students? And I really like writing projects and particularly project-based learning type things. That's a thing that I really enjoy, and I believe I'm pretty good at. And so I met with some of the teachers, and we talked about what they were looking for. And what we came up with was a thing we called the Aldrin Cycler Challenge. Now, the Aldrin Cycler Challenge actually relates pretty closely to a series of projects we have right now at Aldrin called the On the Moon series. We have Home on the Moon, where you design your home for on the moon. School on the Moon, you can figure that one out. We've got Let the Games Begin, where you design sports to be played in lunar and Martian gravity. We've got, We Came in Peace, where you design a visitor complex for an Apollo landing site. We make up those kinds of things. And part of the story is that we create what's called a backstory. In other words, why are we there and what are we doing there? What's the reason behind this? How does this all fit into what the historic context is? And in the case of the Aldrin Cycler Challenge, what we're saying is we are now to the place where we're mining the moon for minerals. We're tossing those minerals into low lunar orbit. We're scooping them up with an orbiting manufacturing plant, and we're refining and preparing building materials. And we're doing this all in microgravity. We're able to build large structures, and we bring up the electronics from Earth. You know, they're small, they're light, we can bring those up. And so we're able to build these big objects that we can put into solar orbit. Well, if you can put it into solar orbit, you can time it out so that you can have an Aldrin Cycler, which basically goes past the Earth, goes out past Mars, comes back to the Earth, and every 26 months it connects between Earth and Mars. And if you build two of them, you can have one that's outbound and one that's inbound, and you're always catching the Earth and Mars, and you can set up a system that is just continuous for transportation. And that's what Buzz Aldrin, one of Buzz Aldrin's really genius kinds of ideas. So what we did was we created a request for proposal saying what we'd like students to do is to create a plan for what an Aldrin Cycler would look like. What are you going to have in it? What's it going to look like? What's the floor plan? What are you taking along? What are you going to produce? What do you need? All those kinds of things. And that's what students did. Okay, so what did the students do with this information? What they did was they created these plans. And they did them in different ways. They did them on PowerPoint. They did them on paper. And they turned them into their teachers. Their teachers looked at them, evaluated them. They sent them to me. I was asked to pick the best one. I don't like picking the best one. What I like to do is look for good ideas. And so what they ended up doing, I think they ended up choosing, maybe giving some awards. But what I tried to do is say, I really like this idea. This was a cool idea here. Partly with the idea that I don't want to discourage anybody. It's just because you came in second doesn't mean you can't do it. Okay, so anyway, it was a real pleasure working with the district and working with the teachers. And one piece I did was I met a couple times with classes and via Zoom, and just explained a little bit of the context and how it all fit. And that was really a pleasure.